nice to see you again. Linda Finstad here, equine behaviour investigator and author of best-selling book, How to Decode Equine Body Language. Today I want to share a little story of a failed experiment. Now, normally nobody ever tells you about the failures, but I think you're going to find this really interesting. Before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory on why this failed experiment came about. While I was researching for my book, I spent hours and hours in fields observing, documenting and photographing equine behaviour. And although it was lots of fun, I'd very often come home with more questions than answers. So I had to devise some little experiments or set some scenarios to kind of prove theories and make sure that I wasn't just making things up and that things could be repeatable. Anyway, I was writing about how horses sometimes bolt their food. But in my book, Seeing's Believing, and if I haven't got photographic evidence to back up my statements, it's just myth or hearsay. So I needed a visual to go with this little piece I was writing on why horses bolt their food. So I set a little scenario. I decided to bring 2 horses into the sand arena and 1 bowl of grain. What I was hoping would happen was I'd put the bowl of grain down in front of the 2 horses. The first horse in the bowl would scowl, pin his ears and give the other horse the look. I would step back, click and have my visual to go with the little piece I was writing. But that isn't what happened. What did happen completely blew my mind. Let me show you what happened. First of all, I brought the little Palomino into the sand arena and gave him a small bowl of grain. Then I brought a black horse into the arena, led him up to the bowl. At first they both had their noses in the bowl, but then the Palomino picked his head and neck up, moved it right over to the side and waited for a few minutes, as if to say, go ahead, help yourself. He waited and then he put his nose back in the bowl, and then the black horse did exactly the same thing. He lifted his head and neck up, over to one side and waited. Again, returning the favour. They repeated this action back and forth until all the grain was gone. They were obviously sharing. Now on first blush this might not seem so special. After all, these horses might know each other. They may have ironed out any kinks about sharing a long time ago. But then I got this thought. This was an unselfish act. Now an unselfish act is when you put the desires or needs of somebody else ahead of your own. Now just pause for a second. This is something we have to actively teach our toddlers. We have to teach them sharing is caring. It doesn't come naturally to humans, this unselfish behaviour. But these horses were exhibiting unselfish behaviour. Now if you watched the other video, you would have known about the hierarchy of needs. And this act of unselfish behaviour was associated with the one at the very bottom. A need that's the same for most living things: food, air, water, sleep. But it got me on a journey thinking, I wonder if horses exhibit examples of unselfish behaviour associated with the other rungs on the hierarchy of needs. Well, guess what? They do. The good news is we have not eradicated this unselfish behaviour out of their character with domestication. The bad news is I don't have time to tell you those stories today, but they are in the book. Now I know you're watching these videos because you want to learn about equine body language, and I promise we're going to get to that, but I just wanted to give a little bit of background information before we get started. But in the middle of my book I have 85 pages of what I call easy reference pages. And what it is, there's a picture, we set the scene of what's happening with the horses. There is an intention or a mood in the middle, and then there's a human equivalent so that you can draw similarities and really understand what's going on. Next time, in the next video, I promise we're going to delve really deep into equine body language. So I hope you join me again next time, and thank you once again for pushing the play button. Bye now.